Hi everybody, my name is Chris Alemany, Media Studies Technician. Today we're going to do a lab on images and folder structures. This is the second web page lab. You'll be creating a new web file from your template file, and you'll be linking that file to your current file. This is both Digi 110 and Inter 101. So you can use your lab sheet for your class and it should work for both classes. All right. So first thing we're going to do, the standard part of the lab, 75% of the marks, you'll be able to demonstrate proper folder structure in your Digi 110 or Inter 101 labs folder. You're going to link to last week's lab, that's the index file. You're going to create some headings and paragraphs just like you did last time. EMs and strongs too, that'd be great. And you're going to insert an image into your page. So that's pretty cool. For the advanced part, all you're going to need to do is get an image of Mickey Mouse and put it onto your web page that you create today and link it to Disney.com. So you should be able to click on the image and go to Disney. Okay, so that'll be the advanced part that you'll do yourself. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we will open up our template file. So last week we created two files. Here's my Digi 110 Labs folder. If you're in Inter 101, it should be an Inter 101 Labs folder. We should have two files in here. We should have a template file that has just the bare bones that we created. If you don't have that file, go ahead and recreate it. Check the last lab. You'll be able to find the code in there. Or if you just have the index file, you can strip away the stuff that you added inside the index file and save it as a new file, save it as template. Okay, but you want two files here, template.html and index.html. So first thing we're going to do is open the template file. We can do that a few ways. I'm going to right click on it and say open with brackets. There we go. You can also open brackets. And remember last time we talked about opening up a folder? You can open a folder on the side here, point it to your Digi 110 or Inter 101 folder, and it will open that folder and show you all of the files inside. So there's our index file and there's our template file. So that's pretty cool, right? So then we'll have both of them open all ready to go. So first one we want to open is template.html. Here's our template that we created. The basic structure has a document type definition. It has HTML opening and closing, enclosing all of our rest of our web page. It has a head element with a title and meta element, and it has a body element with content inside. Okay, that's all it is for our template file. So we're going to go ahead and save this file as a brand new file. So I'm going to say File, Save As. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I save it inside of my Digi 110 or Inter 101 folder, and I'm going to call it animals.html. There we go. So now you'll see on my folder, now I have three files, template, index, and animals, and in the Digi 110 Labs folder along the side in brackets here, it says animals, index, and template, and animals is selected. So that's great. Okay, so we're ready to go. Now let me move this over a little bit. Here's our web page or our lab page, and it says save the new file as animals.html. We did that into your folder. That's great. And we'll change the title of the file to say about animals. So let's do that. That's good. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to leave brackets open. And now we're going to go back into our folder, Digi110 or Inter101. Since I have a Digi110 folder, I'll go into that one. There we go. Go to your Digi110 lab folder. Index.html is the traditional name of the first page of a website. So the reason we called last week's file index.html is because by convention, if you go to any website, if you're just going to www.cbc.ca or www.viu.ca, you will actually be landing on a web page, a file like we're creating. And by convention, that file is generally called index. Usually it's index.html. If it's a dynamic page, it might be index.asp or .php, but it's always called index. Rarely these days you might see it also called default, depending on the kind of server that a website is using. But for the most part, index.html is the standard for the first page of a website. Web servers expect that, and that's why you will just have www.cbc.ca with nothing after it. You don't have to put it in the index because it sees that automatically. So index.html is our standard first page of our website. We're going to create a new folder inside of our Digi110 Labs or Inter101 Labs folder. So I'm going to right click inside of the folder here. You can also go to the file menu and just say new folder. Okay. We're going to name this folder pages. There we go. So create a new folder called pages inside of the Digi110 or Inter101 Labs folder. We're going to move our animals folder in there. So the pages directory is going to be where all of our sub pages for our website goes. So I'm going to put my animals page in there. Just drag and drop it in. Okay. You'll notice if you are in brackets, you still have it open. Brackets might throw up a warning or change what you're looking at because it notices right away that that something has changed if you move a file that you're already open. Okay, so if you get a message from brackets saying that it can't find a file or that a file has changed, the best thing is to just to close brackets and open your file up again, and you should be okay. All right. So in brackets now, if we go back in, we can see the pages directory has been created and there's animals inside. Okay, and just like the picture shows, we have index, pages, and template, and inside of pages is our animals. All right, so now we can open up the animals.html file in brackets. Should already be on there. Okay. And like we did last lab, we're going to type in some basic text about animals if you want. It can be really about whatever you like. So we're going to type in some basic text just like last time, some headings, a few paragraphs inside the body element, and we're going to mark it up with headings H1, H2, H3, and so on, and paragraphs. Okay? So I'll go ahead and do that. So we have some basic text in here, just like we did last time. We have about animals. That's going to be our first heading. We have about animals at home and animals at work. I'm going to go ahead and mark up these just like we did last time. There's my H1. That'll be my first heading. Then after the H1 has to come an H2 if we want another heading. There we go. And this H2 is of equal order and importance. So I'll make that an H2 as well. And then I'll mark up my paragraphs, add a P element around them. There we go. Don't forget to close your elements with a slash. Good. And if you want, you can also add in strong and EM just like we did last time. So I'm going to strong the bear. There we go. And we'll wrap Great Plague in an emphasis element. There we go. So those are all the elements that we used last week in our index file. So that's good to get used to using them and get some practice. Okay, there we go. So now it says create a link to the index page. So last week we created a link, we made a little paragraph, and we made a link to Vancouver Island University. That's another website outside of our website. What we want to do today is create a link within our website to another page. So what I'm going to do is type in again what it is I want to click on first. So I want people to click on um, home page, right? Because the index page is our home page. So that's fine. If I want that to be clickable, I have to wrap it in an A element. There we go. So opening A at the start of what we want to click on and a closing A element tag at the back of what we want to click on. Okay. Inside of the opening tag, we'll put in an attribute, href, and then remember we have equals and quotes, and now we need to tell brackets or our web page where it is we want it to go. So before we went to Vancouver Island University in the last lab, and we put in the whole address of the university's webpage, https www.viu.ca. Today, though, we want to go to a page within our website. We want to go to our index page. So we need to know where our index page is relative to animals. If we look at our folder, there's animals. I'm going to switch the view here so that we can see it in columns. And now we can see animals is inside of pages, and pages is inside of a folder that has index. If you look at it the other way around, animals, in order to go to index, has to go up a directory in order to get to index. So how do we do that in an href attribute? We do a special character or a special sequence. We go dot dot slash, and that will tell the web page and the web browser that we want it to look in the directory above the one that we are currently in. Okay, if I was to just put in index.html in the quotes, it would look for that page inside of the same folder as animals. But that's not where index.html is living. It's living above that folder. It's living in the folder above. So we're going to put dot dot slash. You can see brackets uses that as well, and it auto completes the link for us. It sees what's in that containing directory, and we can just click on index.html and it fills it in for us. So there we go. So dot dot slash will take you up a directory to whatever is above. Okay. Remember Command S or File Save. Okay. Control S if you are on Windows. Now let's go look at our work. We'll go to animals here, animals.html, double click on it. We can see our link, home page. You can click on it and it goes to our home page. Great. That worked well. Now, we can use the back button to go back to our page. That's okay. But really what we should really do is have another link that goes from our index page back to animals. Using the back button can be clunky and confusing for people that are navigating a website. So always try to make links to everywhere that you want to go. So before we do that, we'll go back to our lab sheet here and just make sure that we go through all the steps. So we've made sure that the link works. So make sure you do that first. You don't want to create stuff and not test it out and then be disappointed later. Make sure that your links all work. Check your files. You can check both index and animals at the validator, and make sure that you don't have any errors, and then you can move on when it's all green. All right, so that's good. Now, like I said, you should always create links inside of all of your pages so that you can get around without using any back or forward buttons. So now we're going to open up our index file in brackets. So I'm going to click on index here, or under our folder index.html. And there's our index file that we created last lab. So it wants us to create a link to animals. So again, I'm going to create a little paragraph. I'm going to say about animals. That's the title of our page, which is often the name of a link that you want to click on. So I'll put that in, and I will wrap it in an A tag. That's going to be what I click on. Inside the A tag, we'll put in our href attribute, href equals and quotes. And now we want to point it to the animals page, right? So again, if we look at our folder, there's index, there's the template file, there's pages, the folder, right? Animals is inside of pages, so we need the link to go into the folder and find the animals file. How do we do that? This is pretty simple. We just give it the name of the folders that it needs to go into. So pages, brackets sees that, and brackets will see the animals file inside. So the href is quote pages slash animals.html. Easy. So we're going to save that. And now we can double click on the index HTML file to look at it in a web browser. And we can check the links. Click on the animals, click on the home page. We can go back and forth. We'll go back and forth forever. Now again, you can check on the validator your work. It will always catch things, especially if something's not working right. Go to the validator and see if it catches any errors that you might find. Okay? All right. Now, we'll do something brand new. Let's create an image or put an image onto our web page. Now, if you have taken a picture in your class and want to put that onto your web page, that's great. Go ahead and do that. You can do that instead of the cat picture that's here. So first thing we need to do when we're dealing with images, we need an image to work with. So I'm going to use this picture of a cat. I'm just going to save it by right-clicking on it, and I can say Save Image As, and it'll ask me where I want to save it. I'm going to put it inside my Digi110 folder inside of Pages. Okay, you should save your image, whatever image you're going to use. Try to save it in the same folder as the file you're going to put it in. Okay, at least for now. Later on, if you get lots of images, you can put those images in a separate images folder or something like that to keep them organized. But when we're just learning, it's easier to keep them inside of the same folder. So save it into the pages folder. Okay, there we go. Now, if you're using your own image, it's really important that you make sure that you put it into your Digi110 and Pages folder, or Intro 101 and Pages folder. So if it's already on your computer somewhere else, maybe it's an original picture that you took with a camera, you might want to take make a duplicate of it, make a copy of it, and put that copy in the pages folder so that you can keep the original as it is. Okay, that can be really handy when you're working with images. But the big thing is that it has to be in the same folder in order for it to work easily on your web page. Okay. All right. Just going to switch views here. There we go. So now we have a picture of a cat. Catstairs.png is the name of the file. Images when you're working on web pages can be a number of different formats. The most common ones by far are PNG, which is Portable Network Graphics. You'll also see JPEG, or JPG, or JPEG will be the extensions. And you'll see GIF, GIF or GIF images. All right. So those are the three most common by far. If you do not see any extension to your file names, that's very common. On both Mac and Windows, they will sometimes hide the extensions from you. On Mac, you can go up to Finder Preferences, okay, and in the advanced of the Finder Preferences, you'll see Show All File Names and Extensions. And that will turn off the hiding of those extensions. Okay, if you can't do that or don't want to, that's fine. Just beware of how they're named. So if you're not sure, go into the properties or the get info information, and you'll be able to always see the full name of the image in there. Okay, so just beware of that. The computers will hide the extensions from you. So you need to know them in order to be able to put them into your HTML document. Okay. Okay. So we have catstairs.png. Going to double click on it. Okay. On a Mac, it will open up by default in preview, which is good. Now we need to resize this. On a PC, you can open it with Microsoft Paint. Is a free program that comes with all Windows programs. You just need something that you can resize it with. Okay, Microsoft Paint's really easy, so is Preview on the Mac. Okay, so we want to resize this because this is a little too big for our web page. We want to have it be a little smaller so it'll fit in nicely. So in Preview, we'll go to the Tools menu and we're going to say Adjust Size. Okay. In Microsoft Paint, you should be able to find the size adjustments on the corner of the screen or in one of the menus. So we're going to say Adjust Size. We're going to make sure that the width and height here, that the units are set to pixels. Okay, that's really important. Sometimes it's set to centimeters or inches. Needs to be pixels. All right. That way you'll see the actual dimensions. The dimensions of this picture is 1380 pixels. Those are actual pixels on your screen. So I'm going to change that to 700. Okay, so about half. And you'll see that it will change the height as well. You want it to do that so that it keeps it proportional. That's why it has scale proportionally here checked. You want it to do that automatically so you don't have to figure that out. Otherwise, you'll end up with a stretchy kitty or squishy kitty. Okay, so 700 by 578. Again, if you're using your own image and it's an original image, it might be very large. Again, you might want to make a copy of it before you shrink it down. Okay, so we're going to shrink that. There we go. Save that. Remember, you always want to shrink images. You never want to blow them up. If you blow up a small image into a larger version, that information to make it large and make it clear doesn't exist. Okay, so if you blow it up, it's going to end up all pixelated. Whereas if you take a large image and shrink it down, you have that information available and it compresses it down and keeps it clear. Okay, so always go from large image to small, never from small to large. Okay, so we've saved that, file save, and now our image is smaller. Oh, almost forgot. Make sure when you change those numbers, that you take note of what the numbers are that you've changed. So the width was 700, so that's 700 pixels, and the height is 578, so it's 578 pixels. So when you change the size of your image, make sure that you know the height and the width. All right, you'll need that for the web page. Now we can go back to our web page. So now that we have our image and we know what it's called, we know we have the right size of it, we can go ahead and insert it into our animals page. So I'm going to make sure that we're on our animals page. There we go. And I'm going to put it in after our first paragraph here. So we're going to use a new element called img, which stands for image. And I'm just going to write it out. It has 4 attributes. Source. I'll leave the sources empty for now. Height, width, and alt. So those are our attributes that we must have in our image elements. And then we'll have a slash and the closing bracket for the tag. All right. So image, the image element is the same as meta in that it does not have a closing tag. Okay. Images don't have content. They're just images. So they only have attributes. All right. So make sure that you have that closing slash before the bracket. So we have 4 attributes here. Source, src. So that works very much like the href attribute in an A element. You can put the name of the file, a path to the file, or even a website address. It's generally frowned upon to put in addresses, a website address to go to an image in a source attribute, because you never know whether that image will be available. It might have moved, name might have changed, it might be slow. So that's why it's really important to have your images all stored locally on your website. Okay, and that's why we put, part of the reason why we put it in the pages directory. So the source src attribute, we need the name of our image. In my case, it's catstairs.png. Because it's in the same folder, just like href, we don't have to give it anything else. It'll just look in that folder if we've given it just a name for an image with that name. Make sure that it's exactly the same as the name of the file. So if it's all lowercase, which it should be by convention, .png, it all has to be exactly the same spelling and case. All right. Next is the height attribute. So that's going to be the number of pixels. And I changed my pixels to a width of 700 and a height of 578. So I'm going to put those numbers in for my height and width. Okay, so just the numbers of pixels. And the last attribute that we'll have to have in our image element is called the alt attribute, or alternate. Now, alternate has a really important use. It sometimes pops up a name, or if the image does not show up at all on your web page, it will show text inside of that image box instead of the image itself. So that's really important. But the most important purpose of the alt attribute is that it provides accessibility for people with visual disabilities. So if you type in a nice descriptive name, cat hanging its feet below a banister, a black cat. Now, if someone is using the web with a screen reader because they are visually impaired, the screen reader will read out that alternate description of the image. So people will be able to understand what the image was, even if they can't see it. Okay? So it's good that it's a descriptive sentence inside of the alt for people to see or people to read. Okay, so that is our image element. If you have all of those correct, we can save that. We're going to go back to our folder. There's pages, animals, and we can see the animals file now has an image in it. Awesome. That's great. Now make sure that you go to the validator, validate your page, check for any errors. It will check errors and it will help you to get it all working. Okay, make sure that it's green and then you can go. That's it. That's the standard lab. So as long as you have that image working and you have a link to the home page and a link from the home page to animals, that's the standard portion of the lab. So you need all those things in order to get the full standard marks. For the advanced lab, again, just find a picture of Disney's Mickey Mouse character, okay? Insert it into your animals page, make sure you validate it, and then make a link so that when you click the picture, it goes to the website. Okay, just remember all elements can be a link. Okay, so you can wrap an A tag around anything in order for it to become a link. All right, so that's it. That was nice and short. Once you're done, make sure that you compress your Digi110 or Inter 101 folder. Um, we want all of the stuff inside of those folders. We need the index file, the pages folder, the animals folder. So now you understand why we put everything in a folder and zip up that Digi110 or Inter101 folder, okay, the whole thing, and put that onto D2L. And then when I download it, I'll be able to see your whole website. All right, that's it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.